So is convivial, is this lady is at the bottom, it's not me. But with that said, my intention of my speech is to get me outside of the lectern and get me as comfortable as Fred. Very impressive. I really enjoyed your speech. I'm not there yet. So I'm not gonna completely botch the speech. I'm gonna stand behind my comfort zone. So it's mental rewire. Sweating, shaking, eyes twitching, voice cracking, heart racing, can't focus. Is it death? That's actually my walk up here and how I feel currently. But no, it was my first time standing in front of a group of people. You hear a lot in these rooms that speaking will not kill you. My freshman year in high school, I truly beg to differ with everybody that has stood here and told me that. I simply just had to walk to the front of the class with the person assigned to me and introduce her while stating one simple thing she liked to do. How hard is that? Well, quite frankly, everything I stated in my first sentence makes that little introduction almost impossible. Then you take that voice in the back of the room. Oh shit, look how red he is. That almost impossible became impossible. And for the next 4 years of my high school career, I created a monster in my head that I could not conquer. I dreaded the first day of every semester, every class the teacher passed out the syllabus. I would skim it for that word, oral, presentation, and out the door, straight to my guidance counselor. Not for guidance, just simply, how do I get away from that teacher? Because public speaking was not something I was gonna do. Unfortunately, I could not avoid being interviewed by the local news station when it came to skeet shooting at a young age. Anytime I was in front of the camera, not a lot. Felt like a million times. I had to talk like this because my eyes twitched or my cheeks twitched so bad that I couldn't focus on what I was looking at. I knew nobody could see my cheeks twitching, but to me, it looked like the C's on The Deadliest Catch. First year of college, right out of high school, didn't get any easier. I figured out my first 3 classes, every college professor expects you to stand up here and talk and be able to do it in a well-articulated manner. So you could imagine that leadership may not have been the path that I should have gone down, as I used to have to write my name and my store number on my hand before I'd go to a store director meeting, just so when I simply stood next to my chair and said my name and number, I wouldn't forget who I was and where I came from. Even then, I would when I sat down, I wouldn't remember standing up, I wouldn't remember talking, I wouldn't remember anything, except the simple fact I was still standing there. And I didn't die, much as I thought I was going to. I think they call it, in the fight world, it's fighter's blackout. My fight was through my life and get through that public speaking. I had no problem standing in front of people or even standing on a bar, intoxicated, dropping my drawers. Not a problem. Saying hello to a group of people sober wasn't going to happen. So I decided, and I would have heard the bell, I decided to give another, no, I don't want the bell. But I decided to give another run at college 12 years out of high school. Unfortunately, my boogeyman, you must use phenomenal facial cream because he looked exactly the same way he did my freshman year in high school, 16 years later. Now, my freshman year of college, I was in the same pattern of dropping classes and changing my career until I walked into my business law class. The instructor passed out the syllabus, and lo and behold, 10% of your grade was an oral presentation with a partner. You had to teach one chapter for 45 minutes. In true sparrow avoidance fashion, I got up at the end of the class, politely shook his hand, let him know that I will no longer be attending your class because of the mandatoriness of that project. He was very polite and let me know that it's not mandatory. You just lose 10% of your grade. I wasn't in school to get a B. But this one time, I'll take the B. He was polite enough to explain to me that my grade now is 20% of that presentation, and it was his class, and he had the right to grade it any way he wanted to. With that said, there was a lesson in it, but I was so blinded by fear, I didn't catch the lesson. Just like this room, he explained to me that nobody's died from standing up and speaking. And he would even pick my partner, who has attended 3 of his prior classes and was his assistant. So let's just say that whole semester was an anxiety-riddled semester I was gonna get through. I just didn't have a plan and I wasn't sure how. I couldn't show up to class drunk every week. In some weeks I did have to drive to school. I couldn't drop the class, it was mandatory. I heard a hypnotist can make you do things you normally wouldn't do. Why not give it a shot? The hypnotist explained to me that he was simply gonna rewire my mind and remove the bad wiring. Sounded simple enough. I just had to allow him to emotionally poke and prod me. 6 sessions later, 6 shots of vodka, I was ready to present the whole book, not just that one chapter. At the end of it, the teacher gave us 110 points out of 100 points for the simple fact I spoke for 45 minutes and did not allow my partner really any time, as her main objective became clicking through the slides on the PowerPoint. The moral of this speech: don't let your mind be the limiting factor that stops you from being something you can be. For our guests here that are afraid to speak, members that are nervous about signing up for a role, I challenge you, join our club. We got suites. Sign up for that role that you're not comfortable with. To quote many speakers that are currently sitting here, growth happens outside of our comfort zone. Thank you.